think we've talked about this kind of throughout the first hour of the show. We've certainly floated some ideas out there, given some ideas for some solutions. But before we get into the three races that we have to cover here tonight, one of the, I think, biggest criticisms of people, constantly banging the drum, beating the dead horse, if you will, for 36 or bust, a full season championship format is what is a more specific solution that you have outlined for us? Are you just saying, we need to go back to Latford, how it used to be 2003 and before, or do you have a brand new system? Do you want to keep the current system? Do you want to keep stage points? So, Brandon, I guess I'll start with you, since Tanner and I have kind of been going back and forth for the last little bit here. What would be a more specific solution in your mind for a full season points format, or maybe even a 10 race finale, or whatever solution that you would have that isn't what we've done now for the last 12 years?
Honestly, I know I don't have hope that it's happening, but a 36 race point system, and unlike you, Ben, I'm willing to compromise on it. I'd say keep your stage racing, keep your stages, but 36 race point system, award points from your stages. I think if I had it my way, you would keep the stages, but not like Tanner's been saying, don't stop the race when you award the points like you did on road courses whenever we got rid of the stage breaks. But that would be my simple solution to it. And really, you look at how long we went with a 36 race point system, and was every year a banger? No. But that's what makes those years so special. I'm not saying if we go back to it, every year's going to be 1992. I'm not stupid. I know that much. I don't want every year to be a Game 7. I don't want every year to be amazing. I want to see the cream rise to the top. I want to see William Byron win 5 championships. I want to see Larson win 5 championships. I want to see, Hamlin get one of these days. I want to see greatness do its thing unbridled. I want to see greatness rise to the top without any prodding. I want to see it naturally, organically occur. And if we have dud years, we just have dud years. But at least we'll be legitimate. At least it'll be something that the world will respect. Hopefully if you do it that way, the sponsors will follow, the ratings will follow. But if you get your foundation right, your legitimacy right, and you don't even have to apologize. Just go back to it and keep some of the parts of stage racing that you like. But that's really that would be my solution to it. I know that's that's me just trying to get exactly what I would want. But I think the natural way they're going to do this is 3-3-4, and they're going to have issues with that too. Yes, you would have issues with a 36 race point system. I know that, but I think overall it is proven time and time again to be the most reliable way of doing things with this type of sport. It's not stick and ball, period.
Yeah, well, and again, why was the World Series this weekend so special? Why was 2016 when the Cubs?
Because it doesn't happen every year.
Yeah, those Game 7 moments occurred organically, and they don't. The World Series is not guaranteed to go 7 games every year, and that's why those two in particular, I think, are going to be. 2016 for sure already has been. 2025, I think, will go down as an instant classic. Tanner, your thoughts?
Maybe we need to earmark what I'm about to say for later, but can somebody actually point me to what actual relevant downsides there are to a 36 race points format?
There's no excitement at the final race if somebody's locked it up 2 races before, so they tell me. That's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, tell that to IndyCar. Nashville's finale was fantastic. And Alex Palou had it locked up for weeks. So I don't want to hear that, personally. Okay.
That's the tired argument. That's the dead horse.
Yeah, make the race that they go to for the last race an exciting one for people to watch, and people will watch. People weren't tuning out at Homestead when Matt Kenseth wasn't there for the title. They were there because Homestead got repaved. And wow, it looks radically different. And we had an exceptional ending to that season, not for Bill Elliott, obviously, similar to Denny Hamlin, saw his race win go up in smoke due to a blown tire. Unfortunately for Bill, it was his own, and Bobby Labonte got the last win of what inevitably ended up being his career and time at Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, with all that said, here's my proposal. And I've broken this down in a number of articles on Pitbox Press. So if you would like, go ahead and, check those out on our site. Obviously, we would love to have you as a reader, but here's what I think is the best way to go. You need to make sure that the winner of the race, no matter what, scores more points by the simple event of winning than anybody from second on back can get from earning points otherwise throughout the race. So that means right now, if we were to just take the current points format that we have on tap, we would need to make sure that the winner earned 60 points for winning. So that way they could make sure that second place, no matter what they do, whether that means sweeping the stages and getting the fastest lap, they can't score 60 points. That is the biggest hurdle that they need to get over in order to get a 36 race format. With that said, I think that, personally for me as a kid, it was a lot cooler when, winning a race was 100 some points. They won the race and all they got was 40 points. Say that to yourself. It just doesn't sound right. So I think the Latford system had some properties that were good, but weren't hammered out the best way. For instance, tiered points scoring. That's great. I'm fine with that. The loser of the race getting the very last person on the board, them getting 37 points on principle. That's silly. Based on what? It's just a random hanging number that you all had left over and you just gave it to last place. I think that the last place finisher should score, I would say, probably 5 points. You should get something for entering and being part of the race. And I think everybody up to 30th should be getting exactly 5 points. From there, you scale it up. I would say 2 points per position from 30th place to 21st. And then make it 3 points between every position from 11th to 20th, 4 points between, obviously, 10th through 6th, and then 5 points from 5th to 2nd, and then again, whatever it has to be at the top to eliminate stage racing, laps led, fastest lap, whatever point modifier they want to add on. As long as the winner of the race gets awarded more points than second has the ability to get, I'm fine with it. That's all you have to do. And if you want a gimmick that will actually benefit your sport, here's an easy one. You can borrow it from IndyCar. Double the points for crown jewel races. It's very simple. The person that wins Daytona at the start of the year is going to have a massive cannonball shot out into the season, but they've also still got Talladega, Atlanta, Talladega again, and Daytona again to contend with. Not only that, obviously, as we've seen this season, the rug can get pulled out from underneath you at any time. So it's not like it really matters how many points you have. It matters how you perform and finish. So with all that said, I, as I mentioned earlier, am not opposed to stage racing, but I think a logical points format would be first place gets 100 points, second place gets 75, and then figure it out from there. That way, stages, I think they're appropriately scaled points-wise. 10th on down, or 10th on up, I should say. Get a sliding opposing scale of points. Totally fine with that. I do think the stage winner, if we're not going to do playoff points, should probably be getting awarded more. But, again, I'm not really paid the big bucks to completely lay this out for all of you folks. So these are just things I'm spitballing, and all of these are better ideas than anything the France family has presented to us. So,
And just saying that right there, that I don't get paid the big bucks, would get you laughed at by the opposition. Oh, see, look, there they go. They don't have the answers.
yeah, exactly. But to bring everything back around, like 36 races, like it can definitely be done. It's just everybody in NASCAR is frankly too lazy to do it. In fact, if playoff racing was so important to Jim France and the France family, why isn't it in IMSA?
It's a great question.
There would be a riot.
If they think it's the proper way, that too. If they think it's a proper way to crown a champion in a sport, then why haven't they ported it to their other sanctioning bodies? Just think about it real hard.
Really, why? I don't understand.
Great question. Yeah. Why are they thinking about doing something different? People still dying on the hill for this system. There's a reason why we're moving away from it here. Gus Lightning, love the idea for rewarding Jules, more points for the winner. I know, Tanner, you and I and Jonathan in our Slack chat were talking about this earlier today. I agree. I think I'd be willing. I don't love gimmicks of any kind, really. I do think double points is something that I would let slide for Crown Jewels. I would not love to see it at the finale, especially if we're going to start moving the finale around from track to track. I grew up never thinking of Homestead or the Ford 400 as a crown jewel race. Obviously, it was important from a championship perspective, but I think I would be willing to get it at Daytona, Indy, Charlotte, and Darlington. Not sure about the finale though, but I'll give you a chance to respond.
Can I add an addendum?
Sure.
I think if we are to do a double points allocation at the crown jewel races, we remove stages from them.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
See, that and it makes the Southern 500 a lot more exciting. It makes the Coca-Cola 600 way more exciting to not have, the silly halftime and the 4 stages that we have now. Like, it would make all of the crown jewel races infinitely better. Imagine a long run at Bristol this year without stages with those cheese grater tires that we had. It would have been great.
Bristol too. Yeah, Bristol Night Race. I guess the Players Championship equivalent, like the 5th crown jewel race, if you will.
And you won't have people flipping the stages at Indianapolis, for God's sake.
There you go. Let's go back here. Kyle, great to see you in the chat, my man. Appreciate it. Personally, I'd like to see a new system if they went to 36, do something a little more similar for F1, where you make winning more meaningful than every position being X number of points. Joe, taking it a step further, use the FIA point system, maybe only the top 10 score points. I think it's an interesting concept and idea, Joe. I got to be honest with you. And I know that people have kept track of what if NASCAR used F1 points for the last several years as well. But I think in NASCAR, there's something to be said for every position mattering. There's something to be said for, maybe not as much these days with the DVP, but, I'm old enough to remember the days where, guys were, caught up in a wreck on lap 7 and they went back to the garage and worked for the next 3 hours just to get their car back out there to run 2 laps to pass the other half dozen cars that were involved in the wreck and completely totaled. And I kind of miss those days, to be honest with you. So I think
I'm glad we got that back a little bit this year.
We have. Yeah. And I think that I remember Will Power's team did that at Fontana in 2012. I think because he was down to 25th after he had crashed out. They got him out there just to run like 10 laps and move him up to 24th. And that meant Brian Hunter-Ray had to finish 5th instead of 6th or 4th instead of 5th, whatever it was. It came down to fine margins like that. And I miss seeing that in the era of the DVP. Let's see what else here. Gus Lightning adding. I think this is ultimately the answer that we're all coming back to here. I just want winning to mean more. In this playoff format, having 6 wins is an advantage, can be erased with a single DNF in the round. Yeah. I think that's just it. I think the Ladford system has a lot of merit to it. It was not perfect, and that's the biggest example of it not being perfect. Is I think the winner should have a more clear advantage over second than any other position on that leaderboard.
I'd like to take it a step further. Christopher Bell had like a above 8th place average finish throughout the entire playoffs, and guess what? Even though he finished top 10 in all 3 of the round of 8 races and was one of the best winners of the season, had 4 wins, including one in the playoffs at Bristol, it wasn't enough. And this includes because Kyle Larson ran out of gas on the last lap at Talladega and was, kind of as irrelevant as Bell was at Martinsville. Like, that's the thing of all of this. Like, and Larson is the first champion in this format in the Cup Series to not win a single race in the postseason. Not a single one. And frankly, outside of Vegas, he wasn't really in contention to win at any of them. Insane. Well, yeah, I get that Briscoe winning killed Bell, but that's kind of my point. Like, he performed extremely well throughout the playoffs, and he still wasn't rewarded for it.